Dear viewers, this is video number 3 on trigonometric ratio MCQ. Earlier you got 2 videos, trigonometric ratios MCQ 1 and trigonometric ratios MCQ 2. In this video, we will discuss few MCQ related to domain, range and period of trigonometric function. So, very beginning, we will see what is domain and range. Actually, this is a vast thing, this domain and range, that we will not discuss elaborately. You will get some other video related to this, but in this video, mainly we will discuss domain, range, and period of trigonometric function. So shortly, I am telling about domain, the set of all real values of x for which we get real values of y is called domain. That is, the set of all real values of x is called domain. Which x give real value of y, or for which x we get real values of y. So this is domain. Now, what is range? The set of all real values of y is domain. Range. So set of all real values of x which gives real values of y is domain, and this set of real values of y is range. Then we'll discuss period. If we see a graph, it will be better to understand. You see, period. The period goes from one peak to the next. It is from one peak to another peak. So this is period. Or you can say from any point to the next matching point. Any point to the next matching point. So if we consider this is a point, so what is next matching point? This is the next matching point. Or if we consider this is a point, so this is next matching point. Again, if we consider this is a point, so what is next matching point? You see the graph, it goes up and below. So find out another point where it goes up to the right direction and goes left to the downwards. So is it the matching point? No. You see the upper direction is at left and lower direction is at right. But what was about this point? You see this point and this point, it is matching point, because you see the upper direction is towards right side and lower direction is towards left side. So this is how this point and this point, this is a matching point. So this length is period. If you consider first definition, this is period. For next definition, if we follow from any point to the next matching point. So if we consider this is a point, so this is next matching point. So this is what? Next matching point. So this is period. You see this point to this point, this is period, or this peak to this peak, this is also period. Now we'll see the graph of basic trigonometric ratios, that is sine, cos, tan, cot, sec and cosec. And we'll discuss the characteristics, the domain, range and period, everything for all those trigonometric functions. See, this is the graph of sine x. So from this we get many things. We can discuss many things shortly. I am telling few characteristics of this sine x graph. You see, it is continuous. This graph is continuous. Nowhere it is discontinuous. Nowhere it is disconnected, the sine graph. Then its shape is like wave. Its maximum value is 1 and minimum value is -1. That is value of sine x. It is defined for all real values of x. So if we consider period, what is period? Can you take decision from this graph? You see, if we consider this peak to this peak, we can consider this. Then what is the length of this? Minus 3 pi by 2 to pi by 2. So what is the actual length? Actual length is 2 pi. You see, minus 3 pi by 2 and this is pi by 2 is from this 0, this 0 line. So this is pi by 2. And what about this length? This is 3 pi by 2. So totally this length is 2 pi. Or you can consider this is a point. So what is next matching point? You see where the graph goes up to right direction. This is the point? No. This is the point? Yes. Because this graph goes up from this. So this point to this point. So it completes a cycle. So this is a period of this sine function. So what is this length here? You see, it is 0 and it is 2 pi. So the basic period of sine x is 2 pi. Then when x is odd multiple of 90, sine x is either maximum or minimum. That is for 90, 270 minus 90 minus 270 it is minus 270 it is either +1 or -1, that is maximum or minimum. When x is even multiple of 90, sine x is 0. So we can take a decision from this. The domain of sine function is set of all real number or minus infinity to plus infinity, or set of all real number r. The way we write. And what is the range? Range, that is the value of y. So maximum value is 1 and minimum value is -1. So the values of sine x is between -1 to +1. From -1 to +1. So this is the range of sine function. Next, cos function. The graph of cos x. You see, what is the characteristics? It is continuous. It is a periodic function. Its maximum value is +1 and minimum value is -1. It is defined for all real values of x. And the curve is symmetric to y-axis. You see the line here? If we fold it, about this line. If we fold the graph about this line, that is about y-axis, the right portion will coincide with the left portion, or left portion will be coincide with the right portion. So this is symmetric. So cos x function is symmetric with y-axis. When x is even multiple of 90, cosine is either maximum or minimum. When x is odd multiple of pi by 2, cosine is 0. You see, for pi by 2, it is 0, minus 3 pi by plus 3 pi by 2 it is 0, minus pi by 2 it is 0, minus 3 pi by 2 it is 0. And even multiple of pi by 2, that is pi, 2 pi, minus pi, minus 2 pi. The value is either maximum or minimum. So what is domain of this function? So domain of this cos x is set of all real numbers. What is range? Range is from -1 to +1. Now we will see the graph of tan x. You see, the curve is not continuous everywhere. When x is odd multiple of pi by 2, it is discontinuous. That is, when it is pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, then this function is not continuous. It is disconnected. It is discontinuous at pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, then minus pi by 2, minus 3 pi by 2. That is odd pi by 2. Odd multiple of pi by 2, the tan function is discontinuous. So what to do to find the domain? To find the domain, we have to subtract all this point. That is, from set of all real number, we have to put this pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, minus pi by 2, minus 3 pi by 2. That is odd pi by 2. We have to leave from set of all real number. So what will be the domain? Set of all real number minus 2n minus 1 pi by 2. That is, all odd pi by 2 should be discarded from set of all real number. That will be the domain. And what is the period of this? You see, from 1 point to this. Again, if we start from this, it goes up to infinity. So this much, that is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Actually it is pi, because this is pi by 2 and left side it is also pi by 2. So totally it is pi by pi. Or we can consider like this, from this point to this point. If we take this point, then corresponding point or matching point is at here, the matching point. Because you see how it is matching point. From this, the graph is right and up. From this point, the graph is left and down. So we have to find another point, and if we consider this point, you see this graph is up and right, and from this point it is below and left. So these two are matching point. So this length is also period. Or we can consider this point to this point, this is period. Or we can consider this point to this point, this is period. So period of tan function is pi. And another thing, you see this pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, minus pi by 2, minus 3 pi by 2, that is odd multiple of pi by 2. This line is known as asymptotes. And what about range? Range, you see, it covers all points along y-axis, that is below and up, all points except infinity. So the range is from, no, after or before, what you say? That is minus infinity to infinity. That means not equal. We cannot reach up to infinity. So we must put it in first bracket, minus infinity to plus infinity. That is set of all real number. Set of all real number. Infinity plus infinity minus doesn't include in real number. So the range of 10x is set of all real number. Now we'll see cot x. For cot x, this function is not continuous. This graph is not continuous. The curve is discontinuous at x is equal to 0, x is equal to pi, x is equal to 2 pi, x is equal to minus pi, x is equal to minus 2 pi, and so on. So at this point, the graph is discontinuous. So the curve is asymptotic when x is equal to n pi. And what is domain? That is except all those points where it is discontinuous. The set of all real number minus all those points where the graph is discontinuous. That is set of all real number minus 0, pi, 2 pi, and so on, and left side minus pi, minus 2 pi, and so on. So you can write r minus n pi. This is domain. And what about range? You see it covers minus infinity to plus infinity. That is set of all real number. So this is about cot function. And what is the period? The same goes, similar thing happens here for tan function as we got. So what is period here? You see this point to this point. This is corresponding point. So it is pi by 2 and it is also pi by 2. So length, if we consider it is length, then it is pi by 2 and pi by 2. Not about direction. It is at left side, that's why it is minus pi by 2. But actual length is pi by 2. And this is also pi by 2. So totally it is pi. So the period of cot x is pi. And it is not symmetric also. Now, characteristics of sec function. You see, this graph doesn't go below plus 1. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this graph also doesn't go up from minus 1. So what is the range here? Okay, first tell about domain. You see, for pi by 2, we do not get any real value. That is, it is not continuous at pi by 2. Again at 3 pi by 2, it is not continuous. Then minus pi by 2, it is not continuous. it is disconnected, that is discontinuous. At minus 3 pi by 2 the graph is also discontinuous. So set of all real number is not the domain. So from set of all real number we have to subtract all those values, that is pi by 2, 3 pi by 2 and so on, then minus pi by 2, minus 3 pi by 2, like tan function. So set up all real number minus 2n minus 1 pi by 2. So this is domain. What about range? You see, it covers all real number except minus 1 to plus 1. From this is what? Minus 1 to 0 and it is 0 to 1. So set up all real number, that is r minus of minus 1 to plus 1. That is r minus first bracket of minus 1 comma plus 1 first bracket. That is r minus of minus 1 to plus 1. Because you see we are getting 1, so we cannot, we have to accept 1 in range. We have to accept minus 1 in range. So we have to subtract which portion? Below 1 and above minus 1. Below 1 and above minus 1. We have to subtract this portion. Minus 1 and this is plus 1. As plus 1 and minus 1 is included in range. So we have to subtract below 1 and above minus 1. And another thing you see, if we fold this graph along this axis, the left portion will coincide with the right portion. That is, if we fold this graph along this line, two parts will coincide each other, left part and right part. So this is symmetric. Sec function is also symmetric, like cos function. Then last one about cosec. You see the domain and range is similar to previous one about domain. Domain is similar to cot and range is similar to sec. How you see? Domain, for domain you see for 0 it is discontinuous, for pi it is discontinuous, for 2 pi it is discontinuous, for minus pi it is discontinuous, for minus 2 pi it is discontinuous, as we got for cot function. Okay, so what is the domain? Domain is set of all real number minus odd pi by, not odd pi by 2, pi, 0 and pi, like cot function. We got it in cot function. Okay, so domain of cosec x is set of all real number minus n pi. And what about range? You see same thing, same as sec x. That is set of all real number minus 1 to plus 1. That is r minus of minus 1 and not and from minus 1 to 1. This is how to write it, we will see in a table. This should be written in first bracket because 1 is in our range. So we have to subtract the value after minus 1 and before plus 1. So you put it in first bracket, not in second bracket. That is, the range is r minus first bracket minus 1 comma 1 first bracket close. It is r minus first bracket minus 1 comma plus 1 first bracket closed. And this is also periodic function. And what is the period of this? Period, you see here, period also, you see, what can you say? Period. If this is a point, what is the next matching point? Here, this is next matching point. Or if you consider this is a point, then what is next matching point? This is next matching point. So what is the distance from this line to this line? You see, this is minus pi, this is plus pi. So totally it is 2 pi. Or from this point to this point, you see, this point and this point, this is matching point. So what is this length from this point to this point? It is 2 pi. Again from this to this. So you will get as this flap is not showed here. That's why we could not understand here. So you can see this minus pi to 0, minus 2 pi to 0. That is, what is the actual length? It is 2 pi. So 2 pi is the period of cosec x. Now we will see the domain, range and period of all trigonometric ratios in one table. You see, the domain of sine function is set of all real number, range is from minus 1 to 1. It is in third bracket as minus 1 and 1 are included. And the basic period is 2 pi. Actually 4 pi is also a period, but we consider the least one as period. Okay, then cos x domain, for cos x domain is R, set of all real number, and range is from minus 1 to plus 1. You see, it is in third bracket, that is minus 1 and 1 included, and period 2 pi. So you are getting sine function and cos function, both are domain same, range same, and period same. But sine function passes through origin, cos doesn't. Cos is symmetric, but sine function is not. Okay, then tan. For tan, domain is set of all real number minus odd pi by 2. Set of all real number minus odd pi by 2. Plus minus both. Range is R and period is pi. For cot x, domain is set of all real number minus all pi. All pi, that is n pi, that is 0, pi, 2 pi, and so on, and left side minus pi, minus 2 pi, and so on. And what is range? Set of all real number, and period is pi. In case of sec x, domain is set of all real number minus odd pi by 2, as we got in tan. What is range? Range is set of all real number minus of minus 1 to plus 1. You see, it is in first bracket. So minus 1 and 1 is included in R. That is included in range. Okay. And what is period of sec x? It is 2 pi. Now cosec x, domain is R minus n pi, as we got in cot x. What about range? Range is r minus first bracket minus 1 comma 1 first bracket close, and period is 2 pi. So it will help us to take decision in MCQ. We will see few MCQ now. Okay, first a formula. This is general form of a trigonometric function. You see, f of x is equal to a triz. We write it in short form of trigonometry, triz. That is, here we will write sine, cos, tan, sec, cosec, and everything. Now, in first bracket, you see it is bx minus c plus d. That is, all trigonometric function can be expressed as this, the general form. So again, we'll see how we write this. And for period, basic period of the trigonometric function divided by p. That is, if it is sine function, then basic period is 2 pi, and we have to divide by absolute value of coefficient of x. Absolute value of coefficient of x. This is how we will calculate period. And lowest value of the function is d minus a. That is, this is d, the rightmost constant, and the coefficient of trigonometric function. This will be the lowest value, but not for tan and cot. This is for sine cos. Then highest value d plus a. We will apply all this. We will get problems in MCQ. We will apply all this formula here. You just know it now. You see here how to compare with this function, a given function. Suppose this is a given function. F of x is equal to 2 sine of 5x plus 3 plus 1. Here a is equal to 2. That is the initial constant. Then trig, that is trigonometric function. Here it is sine bx. This is x variable, and this is 5. So here b is equal to 5, and c, you see how we write it. We write it is minus 3 because we write in minus form. And what about d? D is 1. So what is the basic period of this function? We can calculate here. What is the period of this function, this given function? 2 sine x, 2 sine of 5x plus 3 plus 1. What is the period of this function? So what is the basic period of sine function? Basic period is 2 pi. So what is the coefficient of x? It is 5. If it is minus 5 also, we have to divide by 5 because it is absolute b. So plus minus doesn't matter, we have to divide by absolute value. Okay, then what is the basic period of this? 2 pi by 5. And what is the highest value? Highest value is d plus a, that is 3. Here range is 3, the maximum value 3, and lowest value d minus a, that is 1 minus 2, that is minus 1. So what is the range? Minus 1 to 3. This is range. And what about domain? Domain is set of all real number of x. So this is how we will see the other part. Again, what is domain? Basic period of sine is 2 pi divided by 5. That is coefficient of x. And lowest value is d minus a, and highest value d plus a. D plus a, but this is not applicable for this highest and lowest value. This is not applicable for sine, cos, tan, because you know why? The highest value of sine, cos, sec, tan, these all are infinity. That's why it is not applicable for tan, cot, sec and cosec. Okay. Now, a question. What is the period of sec 5x plus 3? So if we can compare with this given trigonometric function with this formula, so period is basic period by b. So what is basic period of sec function? Basic period of sec function is 2 pi. And what is absolute value of this coefficient? It is 5. So this is what? This is period. Now, what is the period of sine 4x plus 1? By this time you have understood what to write. 2 pi by 4. Basic period 2 pi, and this is coefficient of x, it is 4. This is pi by 2. Now see here, same thing. Basic period of tan function is pi, and the coefficient of x is 4 here. So it is pi by 4. Now at which y is equal to cot x is discontinuous. Actually this picture will not be given because this is your question and this is for your help. At which y is equal to cot x is at which y is equal to cot x is discontinuous. So we discussed it in a graph elaborately where cos is discontinuous. You see at 0, pi, 2 pi, minus 2 pi. But it is general discussion. But out of these four, at which cot x is discontinuous? You see only one value we are getting. So for this particular MCQ, D is the answer. But otherwise, where cot x is discontinuous, these are the points: 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, like this, and here it is minus pi, minus 2 pi, minus 3 pi, and so on. So answer D is correct here. Now, what is the solution of the equation sin x minus cos x is equal to 0 in this interval? If we solve this, we will get the solution. So x is equal to pi by 2. Let us see this in a graph. See, this is sine graph, this is cos. Why it is sine graph? Because it passes through origin, and for 0, cos gives 1. So this is cos function, this is, and they meet at pi by 4. It doesn't require, but I showed it for your understanding how to get solution in graphical method. But if you solve it directly, you will get pi by 4. What is the lowest value of sine 2x? I told you few seconds ago, d minus a is the lowest value. What is d here? D here is 0. And what is a? A is, d is 0 here, comparing this, and a is 1, coefficient of trigonometric function, 1. So lowest value is d minus a. So d is 0 here and coefficient is minus 1. So minus 1 is the lowest value. Highest value is not asked, but I have showed here. So this is lowest value of this minus 1, and highest value is 1. From this graph you see same thing, sine 2 theta. Okay. Which pair of following trigonometric ratios have the same range? Where we will get same range? These are the combination of 6 basic trigonometric ratios. You see sine tan, same range. No, for tan we get set of all real number minus infinity to infinity, but for sine it is minus 1 to 1. Cos also minus 1 to 1, and for cot it is set of all real number. Now what about this sec and cosec? I think this is the correct pair. For sec and cosec both we get set of all real number minus of minus 1 to plus 1. So and again in tan and sec, for tan what we get set of all real number, but for sec we do not. But sec and cosec, for sec theta and cosec theta we get same range. And just for your understanding, I have given the table here. So take the decision where the range is same. Range is same for sine and cos, tan and cot, and sec and cosec. So if you can put this picture in your mind, it will help you a lot. You see RR, this for first two all are same. Then tan and cot, period is same, range is same, but domain is different. Again sec and cosec, domain and range is different, range and period is same. So the way you memorize it is the individual technique, but it will give you benefit. Okay, next of the function 2 cos x. There are three options. We have to verify all these three. Range is minus 2 to 2. Okay. So range, what is range? For range, you see what we get. What we do? We find the maximum value and minimum value. That is considered as range. I tell you again, it is not for sec, cosec, tan, and cot, because for those it is up to infinity. So it is not applicable for secant, sec, cos, tan, cot. But for period it is okay. Only for range, for maximum value and minimum value, this formula is not applicable. What is the formula? D minus A and D plus A. So for here it is applicable for cos function and sine function. So lowest value minus 2 and highest value 2. So what is the range? Minus 2 to plus 2. So option 1 is correct. What is period? So period is basic period by B. B is 1 here. And what is basic period? Basic period is 2 pi. So it is 2 pi. Comparing with this equation by B divided by B, that is coefficient of x. Coefficient of x is here 1. And the graph is symmetric with y-axis. Yes, this graph is symmetric. You see this figure here. I have showed here. This causes as you may say, sir, cos x is symmetric. But how do we know 2 cos x is symmetric? You see, for 2 cos x, the function is extended up and down by 2 times. That is range. Range is increased as you got here minus 2 to 2. So no other change happens here for its shape. So it remains symmetric. So all the three options are correct. Okay, then there is another multiple completion. For sin x, we have to take these three decisions. F of x is periodic function of period 2 pi. So f of x, yes, sin x, f of x is equal to sin x. So sin x, it has a period 2 pi. And it is periodic function. That is, it comes one after another, after 2 pi. Okay, then for x is equal to 3 theta, period of f of x is 2 pi by 3. You see, period of sine 3 theta is equal to, if we put x equal to 3 theta, then we get f of x is equal to sine 3 theta. And for sine 3 theta, the period is 2 pi by 3. That is coefficient here, it is 3 as b. b is equal to 3 here. So 2 pi by 3. And the graph f of x is symmetric with x-axis. See, if we fold the graph along x-axis, do we get upper part and lower part same? No. So this is not symmetric with x-axis. So option 1 and 2 is correct. Next, of which function the graph may be. Here note is given. The graph given above is a graph of a trigonometric function with interval 0 to 2 pi. This graph is for 0 to 2 pi range. Sorry, domain. It is for x is equal to 0 to 2 pi. This graph is drawn. Now we have to take decision which function of the graph may be. So what about A? Sin x. Sin passes through origin. It doesn't. The figure doesn't. So A is not correct. Tan x plus 1. For tan, you know, in 0 to 2 pi, at least one or two places it is discontinuous. But this graph is continuous here. So option B is not. Now we'll discuss C later. Why D is not? Same for tan. For cot, you know, for cot, this range, at least one or two places, it is infinity. That is, at least one or 2 point, it is discontinuous. But the graph here, it is continuous. So continuous figure we get only for sine and cos. We get continuous figure within 0 to 2 pi for sine function and cos function. But sine function passes through origin. So we can understand very easily what is this answer. So the correct answer is 1 plus 2 cos x. Now, how do we get the answer in alternative way? Okay, you see, what is maximum value? You know, maximum value is d plus a. D plus a. And minimum value d minus a. Here d is 1, a is 2. What is maximum? So it is 3. And what is minimum? Minimum is d minus a. That is 2, 1 minus 2. That is minus 1. So this portion and this portion is almost double. So this is how we take decision. But we could take the decision earlier as it doesn't pass through origin. So it is not sine, tan and cot. At least one or two places it is discontinuous. But the graph is continuous. And this is the third option, C. Explanation I have given. Okay, how many real roots do exist in the interval? So you see it is clearly seen at two places it intersects at x-axis. So there will be two solutions within this interval. Now what is the value of theta in the interval of this? You just go for calculation verification. If we put 0, then it is 0 plus 1. 1 is equal to root 2. So notice it is not correct. So pi by 3. Pi by 3 is equal to what? Sine 60. Root 3 by 2 and cos 60. It is half. So after adding, we are not getting this. Now pi by 4. So sine pi by 4 1 by root 2, cos pi by 4 1 by root 2. 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2. So total it is 2 by root 2, that means root 2. So this is the correct answer. Okay, which one of the graph of y is equal to cos square x in the interval this? So we have to take decision which one is the correct option, correct graph for y is equal to cos square x. So from this graph you see we will not get any negative value as the function is a square. So we will not get any negative value. So we can discard A and C firstly. Okay, now we are left with B and D. So which one is? Now see, for cos 0 we get 1. And we can say in another way, cos 0 doesn't pass through origin. So B is the correct option. Okay, now we can make one or two more questions from this. Is the graph B symmetric with y-axis? Yes. If we fold along this y-axis, the left portion will coincide with the right portion, so it is symmetric. What about D? Is the graph of D symmetric with y-axis? Yes. If we fold along this part will coincide with this. This is a different issue. As I got the figure, so I discussed it. So for this particular question, B is the correct option. Next, what is the range of y is equal to cos square x? You see, for cos square x. So do we get any negative value? What is the range of cos x? -1 to 1. So if we make it a square, all negative value turned into positive. So we are not getting any negative value. So what is the correct option? 0 to 1. That is option C. D is not, because for square function we will not get any negative value. So D and A is not. Again, for cos 90 we get 0. So 0 is included, but in B 0 is excluded. That's why you have to accept the answer C. You see the graph and you can take it right decision. You see 0 to 1, 0 to 1. You see this is 0 and this is minimum and this is maximum 1. What is the period of this? Okay, the way we found the period of cos 2x, that is coefficient of x, we will calculate same way. We will consider this power as coefficient of x. That is the way we calculated cos 2x. We divided by 2. Here also we will do the same thing. We will divide by this power. Here it is 2. So we will divide the basic period by this 2. So what is the period here? Basic period is 2 pi, and if we divide by 2 then it is only pi. Now to verify with our answer, I have given the figure and now you see what is the period here. You see from this peak to this peak. This is what? Pi, or this down to this down. This is what? Again it is pi, but this pi is not clearly showed here, but this 0 to pi, this peak to this peak, it is 0, it is pi. So this is also pi. So for coefficient, when coefficient is there, we divide by coefficient. When power is there, we will divide by power. Same type calculation. Okay, then which one is the graph of y is equal to cos square pi by 2 minus x? There is a technical term here. Actually, is it cos square x graph or something else? Many of you have understood by this time. As here it is pi by 2, so the ratio must be changes, and as here it is a square, so no plus minus issue here, because minus turned into plus also. So for pi by 2, the ratio are changed. So what we'll get here? It is sine square x. Sine square x. Actually, this graph is of sine square x. So For sin square x, what can we take decision? It passes through origin. But you see there is no graph other than this d passes through origin. So this is what? This is the graph of this. So many of you could think sir cos square function, so for 0 it is 1, for it is 0 it is 1, but for a square this negative value is not accepted. So which one is correct? Option D is correct. Actually this is a graph of sin square x, and it passes through origin, and for a square no negative value is accepted. So option D is the correct one. Now another question. If angle increases to 180 from 90, that is when an angle increases 90 to 180, we have to verify these three statements. Value of cos x decreases to minus 1 from 0. You see the graph, that is when it is 90 to 180. What about the changes in cos graph? 90 to 180. For 90 to 180, what happens? The value decreases 0 to minus 1. The value of cos x decreases to minus 1 to 2 minus 1 from 0. From 0 to minus 1. So option 1 is correct. For pi by 2 to 180, the value decreases from 0 to minus 1. Yes, it is correct. Then value of sin x decreases to 0 from 1. See the figure? Decreases to 0 from 1. When 90 to 180. So this is 90, this is 180. For 90, what we get? The value is what? The value is 1, and it is decreasing. So from 1 to 0. So this is 2 also correct. Option 2 is also correct. Value of sin x decreases to 0 from 1. So from 1 to 0. From 1 it decreases to 0. This is also correct. Value of cot x is being decreased from 0. Value of cot x is being decreased from 0. Let us see when it is 90 to 180. This is 90 and this is 80. 180. 90 to 180. And the graph decreases from 0. So this is also correct. Let us see again. When the angle increases from 90 to 180, 90 to 180, then cos function decreases from 1 to minus 1. Correct. For the angle 90 to 180, what about the sine function? It decreases to 0 from 1. From 1 to 0. This is also correct. And the value of cot x is being decreased from 0. So this is 0 for pi by 2, and it is pi, and it is decreasing. So these all three options are correct. So dear viewers, this is all about this domain, range, and function. If you get a single benefit out of this, then our hardship is a bit successful. Then whatever you see, you have to practice it. Otherwise, you will not get much benefit out of this. Thank you everybody for watching this video. You can like, you can dislike our video, you can comment, you can share if you think. Uh, if you share, next time you will get our video directly. So thank you everybody. Thank you.